Some head nods. Yeah.
Great. All right. There we go.
There we go. All right. Well, welcome everybody to the Langley City Regular Council meeting on Monday, July 13th, 2020. So I'd like to call the regular council meeting to order and begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather today is the traditional unceded territory of the Katzie, Kwantlen, Maswi, and Semiahmoo First Nations. I'm Mayor Val Vandenbroek, and with me today on Zoom, I have my council members and some staff. So I'm going to go through the list. Councillor Rudy Storteboom, Councillor Rosemary Wallace, Councillor Gail Martin, Councillor Terry James, Councillor Nathan Pahal, and Councillor Paul Albrecht. And staff members, we have Darren Light, our Director of Corporate Services, Paula Cusack, our Corporate Officer, our Deputy Corporate Officer, Francis Chung, our Chief Administrative Officer, and I believe Mr. Rod Gill is here, our Manager of Engineering Services, and Carl Johansson, our Director of Development Services. And, oh, sorry, Kim Hilton, our Director of Recreation, Culture, and Community Services. Sorry, it's hard coordinating this piece of paper with everybody on the screen, so I apologize. We got some people away today. So we are going to do the adoption of the agenda for the July 13th, 2020 regular agenda. Be adopted as circulated. Any changes or additions to the agenda? See none. I need a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Wallace, Councillor Albrecht. All those in favor? And that carries. Adoption of the minutes. That the minutes of the regular meeting held on June 29th, 2020 be adopted as circulated. Mover and a seconder. Councillor Albrecht. Councillor Storteboom. Any corrections? See none. Call the vote. All those in favor? That carries. And the public hearing meeting minutes from July 6, 2020, that the minutes of the public hearing held on July 6, 2020 be adopted as circulated. Any corrections on that? I got Councillor Storteboom and Councillor Paul. Any corrections? Seeing none, call the vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. On to Mayor's report. The next upcoming meetings, we have a public hearing scheduled for July 20th, 2020 at 7 p.m. Then the following regular council meeting on June 27th, 2020, and that's at 3 p.m. Following that, we come back for our next regular council meeting, September 14th, 2020, and that will also be at 3 p.m. And first up, I believe we have a report from Councillor Martin for the library happenings. Over to you, Councillor Martin.
Thank you. I'll just wait till Kim starts sharing. Is that it, Kim?
Can you see it?
Yeah, it's not full screen, but that's okay.
It's not coming full screen for some reason. Let me try up here. Sorry, it was glitching a little bit.
That's okay. We'll go on to slide 2.
Okay. Not letting me do anything. There we go.
Oh,
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you. So the Fraser Valley Regional Library Express service continues along with our popular virtual story times, baby times, as well as the e-card and increased access to electronic resources. Like all FVR allocations, we are actively working towards reopening to the public with the appropriate health and safety measures in place. Slide 3. can explore our universe, discover the great unknown this summer when you join FVRL's 2020 Summer Reading Club. Sign up online throughout the summer for all ages. Customers can also pick up a physical reading record and stickers at the City of Langley Library Express Service Point. You can enjoy virtual guest performers throughout the summer. Slide 4. Master puppeteer Elsbeth and her puppet friends present rollicking fun stories and songs that will help unlock new discoveries as we explore our universe. And 5. Norden is back with a virtual magic show full of amazing tricks and wacky gags. Be prepared to join the fun in late July. And slide 6. Discover the fun of music with Marnie. Sing along and dance as Marnie presents old favorites and new original songs. The music will make you move, coming to you virtually at the beginning of August. And slide 7. Pangea Arts presents stories on wheels based on kamashipi, a traditional form of traveling street theater from Japan. Tales are brought to life by high-energy comic performance, music, and dramatic action. Virtual schedule to be announced. And thank you, that's my report.
Great, thank you. That's some very interesting things going on, very creative. Any comments or questions for Councillor Martin in regards to the library happenings? Seeing none, you're off the hook, Councillor Martin. Thank you for that report. And up next, we have an engineering update, and it will be brought to us by Hirod Gill, the Manager of Engineering Services.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and councillors. Just presenting the highlights of what the Department of Engineering, Parks and Environment has done during last month. And I hope it, okay, here we go. The first slide is related to the new benches that we are installing at City Park Water Park. And the slide that you see, the timbers in here are the tree from Hunter Park was used to make these timbers. If you recall, a while back, that tree had to be cut because of the rotten root that it had and caused some safety issues. We are recycling that tree, and whenever and wherever we can, we're using that. And in here is an example of that. The timbers are coming from that tree. And we're putting 3 benches over there. And when the work is done, we're gonna also have a sign posted over there acknowledging that this timber has come from Hunter Park. The next slide is related to the trees that we have planted at McMillan Plaza. The trees over there had some issues in the past. The contractor that planted those trees put straps. They did not anchor them properly, and they were, those straps normally is supposed to be removed when the tree grows. So after a year, those straps were supposed to be removed, but this didn't happen, which choked up the trees. And as a result, we had to unfortunately replace them with new trees, as you see in here. As a part of the work, we also added wooden grates in here to match the background of the area, which is wooden. And we added some more space for occasions that will be held over there. So instead of 11 trees, now we are going to have 9 trees over there. And this is also a part of the McMillan Plaza. Here we have hard surface, and as you see, the grates in here is a bit different, unlike the previous one, which was wooden. Here we are using a metal one. All these grates and trees, they have electrical plug over there already installed. The next slide is related to plantings that we had at different places, the flower beds at different places. This one is in Ines Plaza, and the city has an annual program every year. We have new plantings at different locations. Similarly, this year, we have had plantings at Ines Plaza, McBurney, Fraser, City Hall around here, and in medians, different places. This picture is also, the first one on the left is from Ines Plaza. On these two on the right are at McBurney, and just to show the sample of work that Parks has been doing. Another project that Parks actually is conducting and completing is at Uplands Dog Park. We have had drainage problems, as you can see on the picture in here on the left side in this park. So in order to improve this park from drainage perspective and users perspective, we have leveled those areas that have depression, that water is stagnant over there. We leveled that area, and we also improved the drainage by putting drainage pipe in the right slide. I don't know how much of it you can see. On my screen, only a half of it is shown. I hope that you see the entire picture. But anyway, that one is the drainage. Underneath it is a ditch and a drainage pipe that goes all the way toward the northwest corner of the park, where there is a culvert. The drainage water will discharge into that culvert and enters our storm system. We are gonna have some vegetations around here and also on top of these rocks to give it a better kind of natural look. The work is done so far is about 50%, so it is still ongoing. What you see is not the final product. Another thing that we have done in here at the very entrance, we have put a walkboard over there as a kind of inviting kind of feature for people as they enter the park. And over there, probably if you have seen that, you know that we had a very big muddy area as well. So that is to address that problem. Also at the very end, that different entrances to that park, we are going to pour gravel. We have also added 2 walkways, 2 new loops that are shorter for people that don't want to walk that long. They can use these shortcuts. And what we will be doing is just we're going to add also some benches along these new loops and trees. We are going to plant trees over there. Next month, we're going to have again, actually some information, updated information for council with regards to this project. This slide is related to Brighton Park's off-leash park, dog park, and the work, as you see, still is ongoing. In here, you see, again, similar to Uplands, you see drainage with rocks around on top of it. We have off-leash park in here with wooden park over there. And these areas that you see, we're gonna sod and plant later. The project is behind the schedule. The city is pushing the contractor to speed up, and we are hoping that by mid-August, the project is complete. This is the kind of work that our operations division was conducting during last month. As you see on this picture on the left side, this is an electrical box that, because of its close proximity to the tree and the root intrusion, is broken like this, and the entire boulevard in here, the hard surface boulevard that we have, is uneven. And this is as a result of the root intrusion and not having enough soil for roots to expand. What the operations has done, this is right in 56th Avenue behind the City Hall, but we have similar things in other places as well. This is just an example in here I'm showing. What we have done in here is just, of course, we had to cut the roots as you see in here and put a new electrical box. But not only we have done this, we have moved this. In this slide, you will see farther from the tree to make sure that, again, the same thing won't happen. And one thing I have to mention that this is a problem, ongoing problem we have at the city. The design standard that the city is preparing, and we soon will come to council for presentation and then seeking for approval. We have set some standards for that to make sure that things like this will not happen. Just briefly, I can mention that the new standard will require minimum volume of growing medium for every tree. So every tree has enough soil and the roots will go toward that soil instead of just looking wherever they can. Secondly, we have set a minimum clearance between any utility box and trees of 3 meters. So hopefully when that is in place, that new standards are in place, we're not gonna see problems like this in the future. This is another work that our ops has done, and this is the rebuilding the stairs. As you see in this map in here is at 197A Street. That is stairs connects to 50th Avenue. And again, root intrusion has caused that stair treads to be uneven, which was a safety issue. So ops, what they did, they cut the roots around that stairs and replaced that stairs, updated that. The next slide is a kind of work that engineering services is doing. This is the CCTV program that we have right now currently going on. In this picture on the left side, you'll see that this is a storm pipe, but a sanitary service connection is going right through the storm pipe. The kind of problems that we see in here is that because of this, in this area in here, you see there is a gap. We have had root intrusion into the system. The problem with these things is just that, first of all, it reduces the capacity of our storm pipes. So they have to be cut off. This is something that we have done. This picture right now is a clean picture of the area because the roots are gone. But because of the gap that this is causing, if this is a storm pipe, it causes silt and soil to enter these pipes, which will again reduce the capacity of those pipes and will cause in the long run vacuum underneath the soil, which causes sinkholes and this kind of problem. So this is a serious issue that we have to deal with. And as a result, and because of that, we have an annual program to tackle these issues. On the right one, again, you see another kind of problems the problem that as a result of our CCTV program, you can find and address them. This is a gasket around the joint between 2 pipes that has fallen off. And now there is a gap between 2 pipes. Water enters, and the same problem that I was just talking about, about this service connection that is going through the pipe is happening in here. So these are the serious issues we are dealing with. This is showing the areas that right now we are working on. Different colors, those lines, different colors that you see in here are different methods that we are using to tackle problems. And the information all is coming from the CCTV program. The last but not least is the city's subdivision and development service in bylaw update. We have finished the job. Actually, it has 2 big components. One is the development and subdivision regulation part of it. And the other portion of this work was related to engineering design standards. the work is done. What we have done, we have updated our standards from gold edition of MMCD to platinum. We have included the most recent best management practices that is coming, usually the guidelines coming from different sources, including Metro Vancouver, into this new publication that we are going to have. And everything is done. The only part right now is pending is the effect of zoning bylaw update on the stormwater management plan. That's why we are just put on hold that part to make sure that this interaction will happen successfully. Because of what the zoning bylaw is going to tell us, it will affect the type of design that we are going to require in some places, especially at the South Langley, where the system is based on rock pits or those kind of things. So basically the work, like I said, is done. As soon as this work with the zoning bylaw is complete, we are gonna have this one final check by Francis, our CIO. We are blessed that we have an engineer as our CIO. He can just look into all these design standards and advise us whether we are in the right track or not. And then after that, we're gonna come to council. The plan is just to come to council for the first 2 readings, which allows this to be official kind of thing, so we can go public and ask consultants and developers also to review and comment. And after that, when everything is reviewed, all those comments are reflected, we're going to come back to council eventually for the 3rd and 4th reading. Thank you. That was the presentation.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Gill, and thank you to you and your staff for all the hard work you do. First up, I have Nathan, and then Councillor Paul, and then Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Vandenbroek, and to Mr. Gill. So I understand trees and gaskets. How do we end up with these service connections going through our pipes? I know this isn't the first time this happens, and I know it happens in communities throughout.
I have seen so many of this in other municipalities that I have been working for. Usually this happens when the work is given to the contractor. Most of the work that we do in here, our ops does these kind of things, especially during the last several years. But in the past, depending on how busy they were, whether they could keep up with the work, sometimes they were giving it to sorry for the phone, giving it to the contractor to do that. I don't know exactly in this case who has done this, but most likely that was a third-party kind of work. Our ops people usually know better that they're not supposed to do this.
So this was done in the past by contractors, but going forward, we do this in-house now to hopefully reduce this from happening.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sturtevant.
No, I didn't have my hand up.
Sorry, Councillor Martin.
Wasn't Paul before me?
Nope, you were first. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you for the report. I'm really happy to see the improvements at the Dog Off Leash Park. Will that pretty well take care of the excess water in the open field now?
Currently, yes. Actually, I visited the site last week. Yeah, the work is not done. Like I said, 50% of it done. But in those areas that we have already tackled the problem, it's functioning.
Okay, so you mentioned something about the entrance, and on the north sort of east, as you enter in the second gate, that area was always quite wet. Is anything being done there?
That's the area that I was mentioning. Actually,
okay,
board will be there. Partly it is already there if you look at it.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was the area or not. No, I think this is a really good improvement. I've heard that a lot of people's dogs got sick drinking that water, so this is really going to make a big improvement there. So thank you very much for your report.
My pleasure.
Thanks, Councillor Martin. Yeah, it'd be nice to see those improvements. Maybe my hunters won't be so mucky and dirty when I come out of there now. Councillor Albrecht, you are up next.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you here, Mr. Gill, for your report. I think a report like this really shows the importance of asset management and doing ongoing review and evaluation of our systems. The stormwater not only does it affect the capacity, but the infiltration of groundwater into the storm system creates a real problem for sewage treatment and recycling groundwater to make sure that it's going to the right location rather than the wrong locations. It can add to our expenses for sewage treatment if it's infiltrating into our storm systems or sanitary systems. So I think this is a really important feature that we need to stay on top of to make sure that we're not being wasteful, both environmentally as well as having, let's say, clean groundwater going into sanitary systems that will go to sewage treatment and burdening those systems downstream. So I applaud staff for taking the time and going the extra mile on this process of videoing our systems so that we make sure that they're running as efficiently and as effectively as possible. And that takes time and money. So appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Councillor Wallace.
Thank you. Thank you for the extensive report. I just wanted to compliment the city on the upcycling of the Hunter Tree Park, and I'm hoping this is the way of how we're going to be, maybe, when we need to take some trees down, that we can upcycle in a lot of different ways. So I just wanted to compliment on that. And as far as McBurney Lane, or McBurney Plaza, sorry, I was alarmed when I saw it at first, but I just wanted to commend how fast that transition took place. It is sad that contractors or whoever was in charge of the trees did not take care of them properly. I don't think that should be dismissed. I don't know what happened if we're still using the same contractors for other things, but I don't know if that was a slip up or it's a knowledge thing, but it's a shame that it had to, the trees had to be taken down. But other than that, wonderful work by your department. The plantings along Fraser Highway and plazas, they're absolutely amazing. So thank you.
Great, thanks, Councillor Wallace. Yeah, I was going to say it's just nice to see those trees that had to be taken down from Hunter being reused. It's absolutely fantastic. My question is, in regards to that McBurney Plaza, the original contractors that were at fault, did they cover the charges? What was the monetary value there?
I don't know the exact monetary value, but I know that they shared the cost. And it looks like that there wasn't enough clarity in the contract, who is doing what. But actually, it is very logical for the contractor to take care of things that they have installed, because they know what they have done. They know when it has to actually be removed, and they did not do that. By cost sharing, kind of they admitted that they were in fault.
So, Mr. Gill, going forward, how have we changed our processes to make sure this doesn't happen again?
Well, adding more clarity about the roles and responsibilities in the tender is very important. That it has to be actually dealt with. Yeah.
Great. Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments for Mr. Gill before we move on? Seeing none, thank you very much. Okay, so we will go on to bylaws. First bylaw is bylaw 3123, discharge of land use contract number 11-78. It's the third reading of a bylaw to authorize the discharge of land use contract number 1178 from property located at 19671 50A Avenue. I've got two participants with their hands raised. So I believe Councillor Bahal first and then Councillor Stortaboom.
Oh, I just wanted to move it if possible. I believe you're on mute, Mayor Vandenbroek.
Thank you. I'm doing you tonight, Nathan. So was that second to the motion there, Councillor Stortaboom?
Yes, that's right.
Excellent. So the motion is that the bylaw cited as the discharge of land use contract number 1178, bylaw 2020, number 3123 be read a third time. So we have Councillor Pahal and Councillor Stortaboom. Any comments or questions or discussion on this? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, carries. On to the second bylaw, bylaw 3124, discharge of land use contract number 22-72, third reading of a bylaw to authorize the discharge of land use contract number 22-72 from the property located at 19986 58 Avenue. Motion forward is that the bylaw cited as the discharge of land use contract number 22-72, bylaw 2020, number 3124, be read a third time. Mover and a seconder, Councillor Stortaboom, Councillor Bahal. Any discussion on that? Councillor Stortaboom.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would just appreciate it if staff would please be kind enough to remind me when we can be done with all of these, because they are simply to accommodate secondary suites, and we've already provided for that in the official community plan. Is there an end date for these land use charges?
Yes, through the mayor to Councillor Stortaboom, the land use contract system is intended to be all of them discharged with the adoption of the city's new zoning bylaw, which is scheduled for later this year, early 2021.
Just to follow up, so it's the city's zoning bylaw, not necessarily a provincial legislation that will keep us from continuing on this path with all of these discharges.
Yes, the mayor to the councillor. The province is seeking the discharge of all land use contracts province-wide by, I believe, July 1st, 2024. So our process here would be bringing that forward earlier, which again would allow for secondary suites on single-family zone properties as it is now. Just some of those properties have that historical land use contracts on them, and that's a hurdle for those that are seeking to do that.
Thank you for your explanation and for clarification. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Anyone else? Any more discussion on that? Thank you for that clarification, Mr. Johansson. I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? And that motion carries. All right, on to administrative reports. First up, we have a water main condition assessment grant application. I'll read the motion that a grant application be submitted under the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Municipal Asset Management Program for the water main condition assessment project on Fraser Highway, Glover Road, and Grey Crescent. That council commits to undertake the work proposed in the application and supports the water main condition assessment project on Fraser Highway, Glover Road, and Grey Crescent. Mover and a seconder on that, Councillor Albrecht, and I see Councillor Martin has her hand up. Is that to second? Yes, Excellent. Okay, so let's have some discussion on this. Councillor Martin, no, you're good. Okay. Any discussion on this or questions for staff? Or I just want to clarify with staff, it's my understanding, when does the project doesn't have to be done till when?
Well, we can start it at any time, but we are deferring this until we apply for this grant to take advantage of this opportunity. So everything else is ready. And because this is a non-intrusive method, meaning that you don't have to dig, you don't have to do anything, time of the year is not that important.
Great, thank you very much for that clarification. Okay, any other discussion? If not, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, that carries. Excellent. Okay, on to June 2020 community grants, that the City Council endorse the recommendation of the Community Grant Committee to award community grants totaling $21,064.81 to the following organizations. And I would ask that instead of reading all the names out with the numbers, that council be okay that it be received as read, and we will publish it. So I need a mover and a seconder on that. I have Councillor James and Councillor Wallace. Any further discussion? Councillor Wallace?
I just think we worked really well as a council in looking at the grants that were, considering the time of COVID and, our resources and the things that we have to be careful of. I think that we worked really well as a council coming together and making these decisions. And I just wanted to thank Darren Light for his expertise and that. So thank you.
Great, thank you, Councillor Wallace. Councillor Sturdivant.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, team, for pulling together these community grants to assist our charities and service groups with a little bit of money to promote their good causes and do their good work. I think now would be a good time to advise that because these funds come from casino revenues, that because the casino's been shut down for so long, the available proceeds for community grants next year will be significantly diminished from what I see. So it should be identified at this time for anybody who happens to be watching. And it might even be something to include in the publication that Mayor advised. Thank you.
Great, thank you, that is correct. Okay, any other discussion on that? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, that carries. And on to new and unfinished business. There's no motions and no motions. So we go on to correspondence. So Victoria EV Association, right to charge. Received a letter from them, access to electronic vehicle charging in multiple unit residential buildings, meeting municipal GHG reduction targets. And I'm wondering if Mr. Johansson would like to speak to that correspondence that we received. Please, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Having taken a look through this, some of the items that are salient to local governments, our city, of course, as council knows, as the public knows, we're working on a new official community plan, and we're going to be posting our key directions report shortly here. And some of the directions in there include adding provisions and regulations requiring EV charging in new developments, and that's something that we'd like to bring forward in our updated zoning bylaw as well. And as a requirement, as properties are rezoned, and also as they're brought forward for development permits, to make sure that there's the provision for EV charging with chargers in place, and for whatever remaining stalls are left over that they're roughed in. Currently, we, on a voluntary basis, ask that for new developments, all residential stalls are roughed in for future upgrade to EV, and we ask for a minimum of 2 stalls to have level 2 chargers. So that's where we are right now, and we're definitely looking to move forward in adding regulations to ensure that our new developments are definitely able to charge electric vehicles and adapt to changing conditions, because we all expect the use of EV vehicles to increase over time. Thank you.
Great, thank you for that update. Councillor Wallace.
Thank you. Just a question in regards to, so you said the minimum of EV is 2. So are we looking at doing like having, how many, I was going to ask a question, how many EV stations are actually in existence around our city, if we have that number? Just because of, this is a question from a resident, and wanting to know that, and I couldn't get that information. And also the reason why we only have minimum of 2 EV stations, if you could just maybe answer that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, through the mayor to Councillor Wallace. I don't have the numbers for EV stations that may be on city property or right of way. That's something that we can get back to council on. What I can speak to is the experience on private property. I think given that we don't have anything in the zoning bylaw or the OCP at this point requiring a certain number of EV chargers at a certain level. Again, we've been asking developers as they come forward with applications to provide EV charging facilities in their parkades, and we are encouraging to put in as many as they can. And I believe that the direction a few years ago, again, this was a few years ago as well, so was for at least a minimum of 2. But I think the more important point is that all other stalls are roughed in, so that the conduit and all that is there, so that you can pull the wire and bring the wire through the underground parkade and put in other chargers. And yes, it is something that we are looking to update that minimum required number. I think with this bylaw, we'll be bringing forward proposed requirements to council. We'll do some consultation with the public and industry, and then we'll come up with a percentage in the zoning bylaw. That correspondence lists a few municipalities, for example, where some, it's 20% of stalls are at level 2. The remaining have capacity for charging. Some places only require 100% roughed in. Some places require 100% energized. And I think some of those have a little bit of a, that being brought in over stages. But I think it's clear that since our voluntary approach was brought forward, that things have changed a lot, and the demand and the need for additional charging stations is going up. So I would say that our proposed minimum requirement is going to be a lot higher than 2. Thank you.
Great, thanks for that clarification. Councillor Storteboom.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Johansson, for your report. Thank you, Councillor Wallace, for your question. Just to advise that Metro Vancouver does have an application available to download on your smartphone advising of the locations of electric charging station, not just here, but throughout the region. So that's simply a matter of downloading that free application, and then you can use it throughout the area to get those charges that you might need for your electric vehicle. And Mr. Johansson is entirely correct in that a lot of developers are choosing to rough in their multifamily residential developments, in large part because it's a good marketing strategy. The challenge is the individual billing for those residents to their particular vehicle. And again, Metro Vancouver has some ideas in that regard as well. So just footnoting your report, thank you very much. And thank you, Madam Mayor.
Great, thanks, Councillor Storteboom. Anyone else? So what is council's wishes to do with this receive for correspondence? Councillor Pahal?
Yeah, I would just for receive for correspondence, I'll do that.
Great. I think Councillor Albrecht?
Yeah, I'll second.
Excellent. Okay, all those in favor? I don't think we even need to vote on this. We're just going to receive it for correspondence. Okay, next up, we received some correspondence from the City of New West, disaggregated COVID-19 data collection. What is council's
I'll move receipt.
receipt? Councillor Wallace? Second that. Councillor Martin, did you have a comment?
No. Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Carries will receive it as information. There is no new business. So we are motion that the meeting adjourn. I need a mover and a seconder, please. I got Councillor Albrecht and Councillor James. All those in favor? Any opposed? And that carries. Excellent. Thank you very much.